Hashem, welcome everyone to our weekly shiur on the parasha with the perush of the Zera Shimshon. Tonight's parasha we are doing Be'ezrat Hashem, Parashat Miketz. We're doing the Rush Tet Zayin of the Zera Shimshon, which is the 16th Derush of the Zera Shimshon tonight. Thank you so much for those that sponsor our shiur. Tonight's sponsor is a repeat sponsor, Hazako Baruch, Mr. Dean Barron, Le'oilui Nishmat, Paya Bat Shlomo Gavriel Halevi. May your neshama have an aliyah. Thank you very much for the sponsorship. Our shiur is always open for sponsorship, whether you're watching online or you are here with us. It's a great zechut to sponsor any shiur, especially the Zera Shimshon. May the zechut of the Zera Shimshon be melitz yosher for all of Am Yisrael, especially those that are held hostage anywhere in the world. Hashem should release them and bring them home to their families. May Hashem watch over the Israeli soldiers and bring them home to their families healthy and well. Amen. Keni Ratzon. May Hashem bring shalom in Eretz Yisrael especially for our brethren and bring Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mehera v'yameinu. Amen. Okay. As we have discussed in my different shiurim around the world, wherever I've spoken, whenever it comes to these parashiot, these are very jam-packed parashiot with so much to learn from. The parashas of Yosef and his brothers, Yosef HaTzadik and the Shavatim. This Derush is going to concentrate a bit on the conversation between Yosef HaTzadik and Yehuda, his older brother. But this is taking place when Yehuda does not know he's actually talking to his brother Yosef. He thinks he's talking to the second-hand man of the Pharaoh. And he's almost getting into a fist fight with this person, not knowing it's really Yosef. Now there is words that are being exchanged between Yehuda and Yosef. And the conversation between these two should not be taken lightly. There is a lot in between the lines that are being spoken that we don't really see out in the open. There's so much chokhmah in everything that they're saying. In fact, as I've always seen it myself, you're dealing with two kings here. Yehuda is Malchut in Judaism. All of the kingship, the Davidic dynasty, and Moshiach comes from Yehuda, as we said last week. So you have Yehuda, which rightfully has kingship. Yosef also, in a certain sense, also has kingship. Like when Moshiach comes, as we've said before, you have first Moshiach ben Yosef, and then you have Moshiach ben David, which comes from Yehuda. So Yosef also has Malchut. So you are dealing with two kings here, and we're not discussing kings that are, democratic leaders that have been chosen by votes or dictators. No, we're dealing with kings that have been crowned by Hashem, which means they're brilliant. Anything they say and do comes directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're not just some Joe Schmo that was chosen by people to be the leader. No, they actually were deserving of this malchut given to them by God. So now imagine when these two are talking to each other, they're not just words. You're going to see in their discussions, in their conversation, there is threats, there is secrets being exchanged about Yehuda saying, there is things I know about you, and about Yosef saying, and there's things I know about you that I won't say out in the open. It was literally like what you would have today of, how there's, what do you call it? Like when there's wars between two nations, but it's like, what do you call it? It's like, no, it's like, it's like, digital wars. They're having a war digitally when this one is really sending a virus from some source, like cyber wars, exactly. They're having a mental and spiritual war with each other, but you don't see it when you read the Pasukim. So there's one sense here, one sentence that we're going to deal with, one word really, and you will see what is being exchanged over here, and you will see what Yosef is telling them and what Yehuda is really replying. And until now, we've been reading this word and we're saying, oh, Yehuda is like really, oh, I'm so sorry. No, it's not. No, it's not really not what's going on. You'll see. All right. That was the short intro. He says here, Shabbat Perek Yud Aleph. In Gemara Shabbat, the 12th chapter, it's on page Guf Hey. It says, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, Man nedaber uman nistadar. This is, these three words are some of the most famous words in the Torah. Been used so many times. This is when Yehuda basically, in a sense, is feels, oh, we've been caught by Yosef and his men. And Yosef confronts him. And Yehuda turns and says, Man edaber uman nistadar. What should I say and how can I reveal my innocence or show my innocence? Meaning it's a cry for help, like, and in a lighter sense, what Yehuda was really saying to Yosef here was that on the surface, not on the surface, like a little beneath the surface, he's really saying, listen, we all know we've made mistakes. All of us Shavatim know we've made mistakes, and I'm trying to tell you that you have nothing on us. We're not afraid of you. The person that's really punishing us is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, how can I, like, you don't understand. We know what's going on. You don't know what's going on now. They don't really know that Yosef actually knows better than they think what's going on. But they think they're talking to some Egyptian. So Yehuda is telling him, listen, you think you're punishing us? You think you're bothering us? You're a nobody. We're really paying back for something that we've done long ago. So he's saying, he's basically Yehuda saying, what can I tell you? I wish I could, like, this has nothing to do with you. The fact that we're having trouble now in Egypt has nothing to do with you. I can't tell you what it is, but like, I know my problems. So you don't scare me. That's like a little beneath the surface, but we're going to go even deeper in the surface. I didn't even think this could happen, but listen to this. So he says, in these words, what was Yehuda saying to Yosef? He said, the word nitztadak, which would be translated as, how do we show our innocence? How do we justify ourselves? How can I justify us? Right? It's an abbreviation. And why does Rav Nachman say that this word is actually an abbreviation? Is because it should really be man nistak instead of nistadak. There's an extra tet in this word. There is no need for the tet. So Rav Nachman says the fact that there's an extra tet in this word, it means there's a secret here that's going on. There's a secret message and we have to open it up. And watch what he does. He says, this word, nistatar, is an abbreviation for nechonim anachnu. The first letter is a nun. Nechonim, which means we are upright. Sadirim anachnu. The next word is a tzadi, nistatak. Sadikim anachnu. We are righteous. The next word is a tet. Tehorim anachnu. We are pure. The next word is daled. Dakim anachnu. We are humble. The next letter is guf. Nistatak. The guf is kedoshim anachnu. We are holy. Adkan. This is Rav Nachman, this is what he says. He says, Yehuda was really telling Yosef, you think you have something on us, but you're wrong. You have nothing on us. Man edaber uman nistadar. We read it like, oh, Yehuda's coming like soft and saying, what can I tell you? We're saying, no, he's really saying, we are upright, we are tzaddikim, we are pure, we are humble, and we are holy. Now, Why is he choosing these 5 things to bring out here? This is incredible. I'm telling you, this is literally like having what did you call it? Not a digital war, cyber. It's like, you know how like they can put a code into the World Wide Web and no one else can read it except the person that's supposed to read it? It's like the Mossad type of thing. So he puts the word nistadak. We read it like, oh, how do I justify myself? But between them, Yehuda was saying, here's a code. I just told you what you need to hear, right? And then when you read the rebuttal of Yosef, you'll see why he's answering Yehuda the way he's answering him, really answering him according to what Yehuda was saying. So here it says, okay, so why did Rav Nachman decide to actually make a drasha of this word? Is because of, as we said, the extra tet. We still need to explain, what did the tribes see, or what did they really experience with Yosef? To really hint to these 5 things. Why did Yehuda choose these 5 things to hint? Why did he feel the need to tell Yosef, listen, we are upright, we are holy, we are tahor? Why these 5 things? So he says, perhaps what they really wanted to do was, they wanted to allude to the insults and the emotional injuries that they had experienced from the beginning with the relationship with Yosef, their brother. Yosef siper al-aviv alehem, because as we know, Yosef HaTzadik used to go and tattletale on them to their father. Shayu ochlim ever min achai, and he would tell their father that, listen, your kids, I saw them, the rest of the Shevatim, they were eating ever min achai. What's ever min achai? Basically, eating parts of an animal before the animal is dead. Ripping off parts from an animal before it's actually dead. Yosef was reporting to their father that I saw them. They shechted an animal. Before it's even dead, they're already taking body parts off of it. You're not allowed to do that. That's one of the things that he reported to their father. The other thing that Yosef reported to their father was that he said, you know, the children of Leah Imenu, who they see themselves as the rightful heirs to Yaakov Avinu because they're the children of one of the matriarchs, right, are putting down the children of the shfachot, the children of the maidservants, Bilha and Zilpa, and they're calling them avadim. Hey, you're not really a part of you're slaves. Your mothers are slaves. We are truly children of Leah. Leah is one of the matriarchs. You guys, you came from maidservants. So therefore, you're not rightfully on the same level as us. You're avadim. You're like slaves. And Yosef went to their father and said, listen, this is what they're doing. They're putting down the other children, but they're wrong. They're just as, they're legitimate as the other Shevatim. They're just Shevatim like they are. That was the second thing. The third thing was v'chashudim al ha'arayot. And he told them that they're suspect when it comes to illicit relations. He was saying that they're going and finding Canaanite women and hooking up with them. These were the 3 things that Yosef reported to their father about the brothers. Now, that was then. Okay? There were 3 things that is said that was being exchanged between Yosef and their father about the rest of his brothers. Ve'ata beritam leMitzrayim. And now that they had come to Egypt, to Mitzrayim, nechshedu al shene devarim acherim. He kind of slapped on them 2 more things. He said that they're suspected for 2 more things. Shegaram davka meraglim. Yosef called them what? When they first came to Egypt, he said to them, who are you? They said, we're brothers from the same father. Da, da, da. He said, no, meraglim atem. You're spies. So now again, it's the same person. It's Yosef. Now they don't know it's Yosef right now, but now he's telling them, you're spies. Limdod lahem midah keneged midah. Why did he do that? He wanted to show them, to meet them out, midah keneged midah, measure for measure. Why? Because they had done the same thing to him. What did they do? Ki hamragel moser mamon chavero beyad goy. Because a person who's suspect of being a spy will also take his friends or acquaintance money and give it over to other people into the hands of idolaters. The afhem, and these brothers, and also, by the way, he's saying here, spies will do anything to keep their cover. They'll take money from those that they shouldn't and give over to those that they shouldn't, and they'll even sell their own friend. Yosef was telling them, just like a spy that would even sell their own brother, you sold me to Ishmaelites, so you're spies. So he was telling them, when they came to Egypt, the first thing that he tagged them with is, meraglimatem, you're spies. You would give up anybody to keep your secret safe. So that's the first thing that he told them. He said, you'll take money and you'll take the person themselves and give them over. These two things that he kind of told them that they're suspect of. And because of this, they were therefore also suspected of coming and spying out the land of Egypt. And that's why the pasuk says, "Vayomer alehem meraglim atem." Yosef said to them, "You're spies, because you sold your own brother." He was basically telling them, he said, "You came here and you're like, oh, we're 12 brothers. One of them is no longer with us. The other one is home." And he said, "Aha! He's just no longer with you? No, you're spies. You probably gave him away someplace. You probably did something to him." And therefore, just like you've done that, now you've come to spy out the land of Egypt. So he was kind of like twisting their brains. He was giving them hints about things that he shouldn't know about. And Yehuda is catching all of these hints. That's why there's so much confusion in this room between the brothers. Like, what is going on? Who is this guy? Why is he playing brain puzzles with us? What are these nuances that he keeps throwing at us? So now, Yosef had accused them of 5 things so far, right? Let's go back. For those of you that have been awake so far, let's go back. People are like, sorry. 5 things so far, okay? In the beginning, when they were in their father's home, Yosef was telling Lashon Hara about his brothers. 1, they're eating ever min achai. They're eating parts of an animal while it's still alive. Number 2, they are calling the children of the shfachot, of the maidservants, slaves. And number 3, they're having illicit relations with random women. These were the 3 that they were suspect of when he was in their father's home, and he was bringing this report to their father. That's 3. And then the other 2 that he's doing to them now, that's kind of pinning on them now, is number 1, you're spies, which take money from people to make your own name great and give it to other people. And 2, you'll sell out your own brother in order to save your own face or keep your secret.
So he said the last one?
Yeah, all of these things. That's what he's telling them. That's why he says, that's why I'm saying, you're spies now. You've come to spy out the land because you're saying, oh, one of our brothers is not here. I'm telling you, I can feel it. You've sold your brother. Okay, so now they're thinking, okay, he's right, but he can't be right. I mean, how does he know this stuff? Right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, it's a good guess, but that's a pretty good guess. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot that's going, imagine being Yehuda in that moment, right? So what does Yehuda say? Yehuda says, Manu man nistadak. He uses the word nistadak, and his rebuttal is as follows. He says, Velachen amruhem, the shvatim, Yehuda answers back, Nechonim anachnu, you're wrong. We are upright. Velo meragilim et haaretz. And therefore, we're not guilty of spying out the land because we're upright, good people. We're not spies. That's the rebuttal to your first thing. The last thing. Sadiqim anachnu. We are righteous. Velo mosrim. And we would have never wrongfully sold anybody out. So don't pin us with this, like we're kidnappers and we've sold somebody out wrongfully. That's what they're saying. Wrongfully? Never. Why is he saying this? Because according to them, you will see, when they sold Yosef, they had good reason to. At the moment, at that time, they had every reason to. Because if you read, I think the Rabbi Chaim Kanievski brings, and others as well, that when they were having these problems with their brother Yosef, there was a lot of tension there. And they actually sat down, all the brothers sat down and they had a bet din, like a court, as to what to do with this brother. Because to them, to the other Shevatim, he was a big risk. Yosef had become a risk. To not go too long into it, because that's not the subject of our talk tonight, but what had happened was, the Shevatim felt this way. They said, look, Avraham Avinu had two sons, Yishmael and Yitzhak. Yishmael was not righteous and he was thrown out and he did not get he did not inherit his father Avraham. Yitzhak was chosen to continue the line of Avraham Avinu being that chosen son. Then Yitzhak also had two sons. And that was also divided. There was Esav and Yaakov. Esav didn't make it. He was also wicked. So he was thrown out. He did not inherit his father. Yaakov became the inheritor of that spirituality of the spiritual world. Yaakov had 12 children, 12 sons and one daughter, all of which are holy. But what's happening is Yosef is turning into the Esav or the Ishmael. But what he's trying to do is kick us out. He's trying to get rid of 10 of us. Because he thinks we're the wicked ones. So he's going to Yaakov and he's tattletaling on things that he thinks we did. And he's trying to take us out of all the inheritance of our father. There's going to be 10 Shvatim missing. So it's basically a battle of survival. An entire nation could get wiped out all because of this boy going to our father, constantly telling him, oh, we're eating Ever Minachai, we're having illicit relations. And they're jumping into conclusions. He's jumping into conclusions, and it's wrong.
Was he lying?
Okay, there was a lot of misunderstandings, let's put it that way. And we've had a class about this a few years back, where like the Ever Minachai, eating the parts of a living animal, wasn't really Ever Minachai. The brothers had a difference of opinion with Yosef. One held that once you shecht an animal, you have to wait completely until it stops moving, then you could take. The other side, the brothers held that no, once you shecht the animal, it is technically dead. It could move 10 minutes after you've shechted it, which is true, right? But it's dead. It's a dead animal. The main arteries are cut. It doesn't feel anything, so it's no longer ever minachai. But according to Yosef, it was. So he was going to their father, not explaining this discussion, not really explaining fully what's going on. Oh, according to me, they're having ever minachai. And that caused that tension. Right? And all of them have different answers as to why there was a miscommunication here. There was a miscommunication and a misunderstandings. That's all. They were all tzaddikim. So the brothers here were saying, listen, we don't have a choice. If Yaakov Avinu says, that's it, you're having illicit relations, you're no longer my sons, what are we going to do? We know we're all tzaddikim, we know we're all righteous, and we need to be the Shavatim. We need to be the next generation, and he's kicking us out. And our father is showing us who's winning, because he got the coat from our father. He's the chosen one. That's it. What are we going to do? So that was what was happening. Again, misunderstandings. So to them, they're saying, no, we never wrongfully sold our brother out. So we're righteous in that sense. Tzaddikim, that was the tzaddi. Okay?
didn't change your mind more, let's sell him.
Even more so. They're like, we could have killed him. See? So now, that was the tzadi, nitzdadak. The next one is tet. Tehorim anachnu. We are tahor. What's that a rebuttal to? They're saying we are tahor. Velo acharnu evel min achai. We've never eaten a part of an animal that was not kosher or was an ever min achai. Never. We are tahor. Why is it that tahor is what answers that question? Is she'ever min achai mitameh, because a person that eats a part of an animal while the animal is still alive, it is metameh, it contaminates the soul of that person. And that person becomes impure. Therefore, they were saying, tahorim anachnu, for the tet. We are tahor. We've never eaten ever min achai. Makes us think that today's day and age, I mean, it's become I've heard that there's these like high-class restaurants that feed things while they're still alive. Right?
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I've seen people eat
Kosher restaurants?
not kosher restaurants. Habibi. No, there's like I don't know, Chinese or Japanese restaurants that eat frogs, monkey's brain while it's still alive, and octopus. I've actually seen videos of them literally wrapping the octopus around like it's spaghetti, and it's still moving, and they like.
When it's cooked or when it's
No. It's moving.
no, but
So
every
alive.
in general.
Ever minachai doesn't matter if you eat it while it's alive. If you take an octopus while it's still alive, and put it in a frying pan, it still becomes ever minachai. You can't. The example of octopus is a bad example because it's not a kosher animal anyway. But a cow is a kosher animal, right? If you all of a sudden the cow's walking, you don't want to kill the cow. Cut off the tongue or whatever it is, and then cook it and eat it. You've cooked it, you've salted it, you've koshered it, but it's ever minachai. It's asur because you've taken it from a living animal. It's living. You can't just take parts of the living animal and eat it. So that's what they were suspected of, and they're saying tehorim anachnu, and it really is metameh. Any kind of non-kosher food that a person eats altogether is metameh. It has impurities. It makes the person's soul impure. Hachamim talk about until the person goes detoxes.
But this is they didn't need to keep any of that.
Oh, but they did.
No.
But they did.
Isn't
But they did.
Isn't it one of the 7 Noah laws?
That's one of the. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. So Yosef felt that there's still Noachites, and therefore, even if they've shechted it, if the animal is still moving, it's considered a living animal, and you can't take the living part of it. The Shavatim felt, no, we're no longer Noahites. We're the Bnei Yaakov, and we technically can keep the mitzvot the way Bnei Yisrael keep the mitzvot. And according to Torah law, once you shech the animal the correct way, cutting the major arteries, even if the animal is still moving 5 minutes later, it's technically it's dead. Therefore, it's no longer considered ever minachai. That was the difference of opinion between Yosef and his brothers, right? So they were saying it's not ever minachai. It wasn't at no point was it like them going to a sheep and like, oh, no, that didn't happen. The discussion was how far after shechting is it still considered ever minachai?
So right now when they do kosher shlita, how long do they wait?
Oh, they wait. By the time it comes to you, it's probably years.
No. How long do they wait until they cut it up?
7 to 10 years to be exact.
Seriously, how long are they supposed to wait?
I don't know.
No, I'm asking if they're supposed to. That's what I'm.
Al pi halacha, really the laws of shechita are very intricate. Do they have to wait after? How long do they have to wait until? Either way they wait. I think either way they wait because the blood has to come out a certain degree. But I don't know if they have to wait until the animal actually stops moving because there's nerves. I don't know. It's a good question. right? But definitely, wrapping an octopus around your fork and just sucking it up. Listen, you have to understand when Chachamim tell us that this is metameh, it really, and it also does something to a person. I can't imagine anybody that lives and eats parts of a living animal would have the same sensitivity and the heart as a person that at least has the thing of at least waiting till the animal is dead before you eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it does something. It's very cruel. It's very cruel. I don't care if it's an octopus, whatever it is. I was actually having I have learning groups with different age groups, and I was having a session with teenagers. And because a lot of people are pet owners today, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately, they're pet owners. And many people do not know that owning a pet has a lot of laws, intricate laws. You can't do whatever you want with your pet. After you actually listen to the class that I gave, you would probably give away your dog. So don't say fortunately, because a lot of people, chas v'shalom, a lot of people are ovrei avera. They're doing averot every single day by owning pets just because they're not treating them right according to the Torah. So it's, for many people, it's better not to own a pet than to want.
You put your animal
Do you
before
have
you
the
give up.
shiur? Can you share it?
No, I did not record it. Example is like one of the simplest of examples is if you are sitting to eat, you have to make sure your dog eats first, even if you're starving.
That's
For every meal?
It depends what meals the dog has to eat or the animal has to eat, as long as it's good for it. Right. So there's details to that. But there's a lot of medical things that owners do to their pets because they're very sensitive people, right? According to the Torah, that's a deoraita lav. It's breaking a very severe Torah law that's from a time of Noah. So when they're saying to themselves, I'm doing this because it's good for the animal, don't do good for the animal. Don't.
Give me an example on that.
Like neutering them?
Right.
No. Neutering depends. No, it depends. Like my dog, his test does not come out.
Right. So okay.
As a medical
Maybe I don't think it's a thing.
No.
Right. It's not a discussion for tonight's shiur, but I'm just saying that right. So if they, I'm just saying many people do that from the get-go, and then that's not allowed according to the Torah. It's not allowed. If it was already done, whatever. There's a lot. There's animals that become old, and unfortunately they can't. You know what I'm saying, and they can't take care of it. And the veterinarian always just says, just put them down, right? So right. You're killing an animal. Right. So they do that to human beings also, of course. So it's not so simple. You can't just do that. So if you're very sensitive and you can't handle it when the dog or the pet gets too old, don't own one, because there's a major avera if you do that to the animal at the end of the life. It's problematic, and people don't know this. So Jewish law has a lot of rules when it comes to treatment of creatures. Many people don't know these things, right? It's animal cruelty laws. Some of the things that they do to animals in our wonderful society are the cruelest things, right? Under the law. So these are things that every Jew has to know if we're meant to really have pets. So now eating animals while they're alive is metamtem. It's very, very, very bad. So that's one of the things. So they were saying, tahorim anachnu. Well, we're not tameh, we are tahor. We are pure in that sense. Dakim anachnu. We dakim ushfalim be'anenu. We are very humble and lowly in our own eyes. Why is that? What is that a rebuttal to? Dakim anachnu, we're very, very humble. Velo ga'al levavenu al bena shevachot lekortam avadim. We would have never ever been arrogant enough to call the other children of the maidservants slaves. We would never do that. Because we're very humble ourselves. We never called them slaves.
What gave Yosef the impression that the brothers would...
I don't remember what it was that gave him the impression that that's what they were doing. And the next thing is the guf, the last one. Kedoshim anachnu, we are holy. Ve'en anu chashudim al arayot, and we are not ever suspected of any illicit relationships. Shebechol makom she'ata motze geder erva, because wherever you find safeguard from immorality, sham ata motze kedusha. There you will find kedusha, because when there is safeguarding yourself of any illicit relations, the opposite of that becomes kedusha, holiness. Holiness comes from a person that safeguards themselves against all of these enticements. That's why Yosef HaTzadik is called a tzaddik. Why? Because he held himself when it came to Potiphar's wife. So this is how Yehuda answers Yosef. And he says, you're calling us spies, selling out your brother, you're calling us tamer, you're calling that. You're wrong. We've never done these things. Ba'kesh rukach, says now, the connection between these two sets, meaning the accusations when Yosef was home and the accusations that he's pinning on them now, when the brothers came to Egypt, you know the story, they went through 10 different sharim, 10 different gates. They entered through 10 different gates. Why did they do that? Basically, they divided and they said, listen, go from different gates, so we'll pan out all of Egypt looking for Yosef. So this is where we can find Yosef. So they came into Egypt to bring food home, but they used the opportunity also, now that they're all together, let's go look for Yosef. But Yosef used that as an excuse and he said, you're spies. That's why you're coming from 10 different gates, because you don't want to look like you're together. You're really trying to spy out you want to find the weakness. You're going to regroup and your brothers are going to talk to each other about, this gate had 2 guards, this gate had 5 guards, this gate had a watchman, this guy didn't have a watchman. That's why you're doing what you did. So you had a question?
How did they suspect that he was in Mitzrayim? Why not somewhere else in the world? Why did they think there?
Some say they had actually asked around and they knew that those Ishmaelites will come to Mitzrayim and sell him as a slave because he was good product. And that's where they would buy such a product.
He's also beautiful. And
right, they had sold him to be sold as as a slave and also to be used for his body, whatnot. That's what Egyptians did those days. They weren't wrong. He was sold in Egypt. Right? So now, but they came from the 10 gates to find Yosef. And they had already agreed, however much it'll cost, we'll give any money in the world to bring him back home. Now listen to this. That's Rashi who says, Yosef said to them, you came to see the nakedness of the land, meaning you came to see which part is the least guarded. And on the verse, the brothers of Yosef went down to Mitzrayim, and that's what Yosef used to call them spies, because of the choice they made to come from 10 different gates. But now that they had really searched for Yosef, and they came out empty-handed, they didn't find him, Kavanatam lomar, now they wanted to say, Nechonim anachnu, we are upright. You know why we're upright? Shein anu meraglim, we are not spies. Why? And you can see that we're righteous. Velo mosrim, we never wrongfully handed over our brother to anybody. We never sold anybody out. Shara adrabah, on the contrary, we actually wanted to come and find him and bring him home and release him. Now that we didn't find him, anu omrim, we must say, I guess we were right. He doesn't deserve to be saved. Then we were right all along. He was never righteous. He was what we thought he was. And therefore he had no protection from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why he's lost. Because if he was truly as righteous as he said he was, he would have had protection from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he would have survived long enough for us to come back and take him home. Who are they saying this to? The guy they're talking about. They're saying, the fact that we didn't find him means that we were right all along and he wasn't righteous. And the fact that we sold him was a good thing that we did that. He deserved it. How do we know he deserved it? Because we can't find him. He's gone. Done. That means Hashem didn't want him to survive. And imagine Yosef standing there. Yeah.
Which letter of the Nitzadak is that? That there was name? That we are Tzadikim?
Tzadikim is the last one, is Nitzadak, the second.
Wasn't Yosef hinting out to them the whole time, this is me?
He didn't catch those. Not so well. Why? They caught it, but it only confused them. Why? Because they still thought, we didn't find Yosef. We didn't find Yosef. We didn't find Yosef, right? So in their mind, we didn't find Yosef. And he's hinting to them all these different hints. They're thinking to themselves, he was sold in Egypt. He's probably a harlot someplace or dead someplace. Never in their wildest dreams did they think he became the ruler. I mean, we sold him as a slave. How do you... And again, look at the miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the rule of Egypt was, like, this was the number one rule. The number one rule was, a person that was at one point sold as a slave can never rule. So here them thinking to themselves, like, it wouldn't even come into their mind that this is Yosef talking to them. Right? Because he was sold as a slave. And that's why you'll see when you read that book that I suggested last week, right? You'll see that all the advisors of Paro fought him when he placed Yosef as the ruler. They said, you're breaking the law. He's a slave. We just took him out of the dungeon and you just set him as the ruler all over Egypt. You can't do that. What is this? What is this, United States of America? You can't just break the law. You can't just do whatever you want. But, huh?
You can't do that.
You can't do that. You can't just pardon him.
That's a good one.
But that's what was causing the confusion. It's crazy because everything that they're saying it to the guy they're talking about. And he's standing right in front of them. Like, that's why it was such an emotional thing, because Yosef was standing there going, I can't hold myself anymore. Like, what's going to happen? That's why it was the most embarrassing thing when Yosef finally revealed himself. They couldn't even talk. Because here they were saying, all along, we just proved that we were right all along. We didn't find him because he wasn't as righteous as he actually thought, or he actually said he was. Because if he was really righteous, he would have at least survived. We would have found him someplace on the streets. Lo and behold, Yosef is telling them, I wasn't on the streets. Too bad. I'm kind of the ruler. An entire world survived because of me. Welcome. What do you say to that? That's why the Gemara says, Oy lanu b'yom adin, woe to us on the day of judgment, because the brothers of Yosef couldn't handle the rebuke of their younger brother. How are we going to handle Hashem's rebuke? Why? Because I don't remember which Gemara it was, because it was the same thing. We go about life thinking, I'm hauling right now. I'm so righteous. I'm so good. I do whatever. Everything's good. Right? And then in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that moment that Hashem says, Ani Hashem, and we see our entire life flash before us after 120, what are you going to do? What are you going to say? There's no escape. It's emet. It's all there. It's so crystal clear. You can't leave. That's what happened to the Shavatim. Everything became so crystal clear in a split second. They couldn't say anything. He was right all along about everything. They were thinking they were righteous the whole time, and boom, it blew up in their face. Incredible. So then, Veim Ken. So now that they were saying to Yosef here, now, Veim Ken, now that we're innocent and his guilt has been shown, Agalai milta lemafreya. When you go back in retrospect, everything that he used to tattletale about us to our father, it was all lashon hara and it was all lies. And on the contrary, we are tahor, we are upright, we are kadosh, as we said. So now he says, and that's why we can answer another question. It says there's an extra vav in one of these pesukim. He says, Va'avadecha ba'u lishpor ochel. The Shvatim turned to Yosef and they said, and your servants have come to take food back home. Really, they should have said, Avadecha ba'u lishpor ochel. Your servants have come to take food. It's because it's in the beginning. There's no and here. They should have just said, we came to get food. But what did the brothers say? Va'avadecha. And your servants have come to take food. And what are you connecting it? There was nothing before it. Why are they adding a vav? He says you have to read between the lines. There were other things that were said that's not really written here. What was it? They really said to Yosef, they said two things to him. They said, Lo Adoni. They said, no. Firstly, they said, no, my Lord. We never wrongfully handed anybody to anybody else. Meaning we never sold our brother. We never sold anybody out. Furthermore, we came to take food. We are not spies in a sense of selling anybody. And we're not spies in a sense of trying to figure out how we can take over Egypt. No. We only came to take food with us. We are not spies. Listen to this. So he's saying, they should have said, we are not spies. That's what they should have said. What does the pasuk says? Lo hayu avadecha meraglim. Your servants were not spies. What do you mean? That's not how you talk. What do you mean we're not spies? What are you referring to? I'm telling you, you're spies. And you go, Lo hayu avadecha avadim. We were not spies. You should have said, Lo avadim anachnu. We are not slaves, meaning presently. What are they referring to in the past? So they're saying, meaning they're referring to the past. Yosef, when they sold their brother Yosef, he deserved it. We did the right thing. We didn't do it as these people that go trafficking people. No, we sold him because he deserved it. As we said before, why he deserved to be sold. As we discussed before, because they said he's trying to kill us. He's trying to throw us out from the inheritance from our father. Therefore, when we sold him out, he deserved to be sold out. In fact, we had mercy that we didn't kill him. We should have really killed him. But now it comes out well. Says now it comes out perfectly. Why? Because when Yosef asked the brothers, all right, tell me about your family. Tell me about who you guys are. So he said, okay, we're 12 brothers. One of them is no longer with us, and the other one is at home. Right when they said that, ve'ha'echad enenu, and there is one that's enenu, is no longer with us. Amar lahem Yosef said to them right away, Hu asher dibarti alechem lemor meraglim atem. This is exactly why I said you are spies. Just because they said there's a brother that's not here, he's like, Hu asher dibarti. That's why I'm telling you you're spies. Why? Why is it that just because one brother is missing, that's why you chose to call us spies? Now it makes sense. Why? Why? Because the word hu, when he says, hu asher dibarti, that's why I said what I said. This is exactly what I was. What is this that he's referring to? What's making Yosef call them spies? Ella shekevan shamruhem, because they said va'echad enenu, and one is gone. Amar lahem, Yosef said to them, hu asher dibarti. This is exactly why. That one is gone is just why I've been telling you you're spies. Shatem musrim. You handed him over to other people. Shemechartem dachem achichem b'yad arelim. You sold his blood. You're the ones who sold him out. Then therefore when Yosef said to them, Ve'et achichem hakaton taviu elai ve'yamru divrechem. Therefore Yosef said, all right, you're telling me you're not spies. You're fighting me on this? I'll make a deal with you. Listen, look how perfectly it fits. You bring your other younger brother here, and I'll believe you. You're saying you don't sell out your brothers? Fine. Bring your younger brother, the one you're saying is at home, and then I'll believe you. What did that have to do with anything? Why is that why is Binyamin here going to prove that they're not really traffickers, human traffickers, so to speak? Why? It said because Yosef had taken who? There was one person in jail. Shimon. And Yosef said to them, all right, you bring your younger brother, I'll release him. If you don't bring your younger brother, that means you're exactly what I said you are. You don't care. For you, it's like, okay, you lost another one. You'll never come back for Shimon. I was right. You are sellouts. That's why I was saying you sold one out already. And now I have one more in jail. And if you don't do what I'm telling you, you're selling out another one. So prove me I'm wrong. Bring your younger brother, and then I'll say, okay, you're not spies, you're not sellouts, you're not human traffickers. And that's why they agreed. They went home, and they brought Binyamin, and Shimon was rapidly released. This was the most emotional, most confusing moments between the Shevatim and the rest of the Shevatim with Yosef HaTzadik. After 120 years, all the confusions. Imagine, our entire life, 120 years, a Jew goes through life, through obstacles, through confusing situations, not knowing what's going on. What's going on? Why did this have to happen? Why did that have to happen? And we make mistakes. We make mistakes, some of which we do teshuvah for, and we agree that we made a mistake. We also make mistakes which we don't want to come clean with. We make mistakes and we don't come clean. And we justify those mistakes. No, the fact that I did this, I was rightful. It was rightfully my right to do what I did, and I was right. We'll bring halachic things and we'll build up on it, why we're right. Oh no, I have to go to Kenisa, I have to go to shul, therefore me driving is a mitzvah and Shabbat, or me, I have all sorts of different excuses. After 120 years, in a split second, Hashem says, Ani Hashem. No more excuses. Everything flies out the window. Everything becomes so crystal clear. That's why Chachamim say that in the Amidah, at the end of Amidah, right before the last Yehul Ratzon, there is a pasuk that is attached to everybody's name. There's pasukim that start with the first letter of your name, and the pasuk ends, it's from Tehillim, and the pasuk ends with the last letter of your name. So if your name is David, the pasuk starts with a daled and it ends with a daled. And it's a minhag that every person that's doing the Amidah, right before Shemona Esrei ends, you say that pasuk, and then you say Yehil Ratzon Merfi Ve'Gion Libi Hashem and you do Oseh Shalom. Why? Because they say it's good for every Jew to memorize this pasuk, because after 120 years, when a person goes up there, when the Shekhinah shows itself, you forget your own name. It becomes such an embarrassing situation. You're in such shock, you don't even know who you are. The only thing you'll remember is a pasuk, because it's kadosh. And that pasuk is gonna help you remember your own name. Why? Because you're having a Yosef moment. Our whole life we've been fooling ourselves. Our whole life we've been so righteous. Our whole life we've been doing everything right. And then in one moment, chas v'shalom, chas v'chalila, everything just crumbles. But if we live our lives, if we live our lives with emet, true emet, we make mistakes, we do teshuvah, we accept that, okay, this was a mistake, and we right our ways, Be'ezrat Hashem, then we won't have that moment. We won't have the moment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu having to tell us, oh yeah, really? Yeah, you really think you had the right of way over here? You really think that was not Lashon Hara? Because he deserved it, or she deserved it. Of course, it was not Lashon Hara. You know all the laws of Lashon Hara. And in this situation, you're absolutely right. No Lashon Hara. You destroyed a person's life, but you did it for the good of the community. It was not Lashon Hara. Every choice we make, we better be 1,000% sure that we are right. Because when it comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is no gray areas after 120. It's true, it's just emet. There's no ifs, there's no but. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always help us to stay with true emet. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen. Amen.